for B.ed preparation. Unit 2. Growth and Development. Group A multiple choice questions MCQ. 1. What does growth refer? A. Maturational experiences. B. Structural and physiological changes. C. Qualitative nature of change. D. Progressive nature of change.
Correct answer. B. Structural and physiological changes.
2. What is the characteristics of growth? A. Qualitative change. B. Irreversible change. C. Quantitative change. D. Progressive change.
Correct answer. C. Quantitative change.
3. Which of the following is associated with the concept of development? A. Drastic change. B. Elementary change. C. Quantitative change. D. Qualitative change.
Correct answer. D. Qualitative change.
4. Human development represents A. Physical change. B. Mental change. C. Emotional change. D. All of the above.
Correct answer. D. All of the above.
5. How is development measured? A. Through observation. B. Through measuring. C. Through weighing. D. None of the above.
Correct answer. A. Through observation.
6. What is not included in the human growth? A. Change in emotion. B. Change in shape. C. Change in height. D. Increase in weight.
Correct answer. A. Change in emotion.
7. Which of the following statement is true? A. Development is the product of growth and development. B. Development is the product of maturation and learning. C. Development is the product of growth and maturation. D. Learning is the product of growth and maturity.
Correct answer. B. Development is the product of maturation and learning.
8. Which of the following factors of human development is considered as best? A. Physiological and genetic. B. Sociological and genetic. C. Cultural and environmental. D. Genetic and environment.
Correct answer. D. Genetic and environment.
9. Which chromosome group are responsible for determining male baby? A. XY. B. YY. C. XX. D. All of the above.
Correct answer. A. XY.
10. What is the main factors of individual difference? A. Family structure. B. Social structure. C. Heredity and environment. D. Weather and climate.
Correct answer. C. Heredity and environment.
11. Who has defined the maturation may be defined as the net sum of gene effects operating in a self-limited life cycle? A. Hurlock. B. Skinner. C. Jessel. D. Watson.
Correct answer. C. Jessel.
12. Longitudinal method of study generally involves A. Evaluating data over a long period of time. B. Collecting data over a short period of time. C. Collecting data over a long period of time. D. Evaluating data over a short period of time.
Correct answer. A. Evaluating data over a long period of time.
13. In a cross-sectional study of human development, which is studied? A. A single group at one time. B. Several different and similar group at one time. C. A single group of different stages of development. D. Several groups in one time.
Correct answer. B. Several different and similar group at one time.
14. Cross-sectional and longitudinal methods are used for A. Studying human learning. B. Studying human behavior. C. Studying human development. D. None of the above.
Correct answer. C. Studying human development.
15. Which of the following is not an advantage of cross-sectional method? A. It is scientifical and practical. B. It economizes time. C. It is practical for different age levels of individual. D. It covers a long span of life.
Correct answer. D. It covers a long span of life.
16. What is the most valid method of studying human development? A. Longitudinal. B. Cross-sectional. C. Cohort sequential. D. All of the above.
Correct answer. C. Cohort sequential.
17. Which of the following is not a characteristics of longitudinal method? A. It covers a long span of life. B. It economizes time. C. Recording to data is easy. D. Its sample is large.
Correct answer. C. Jessel.
18. Which of the following law of studying human development is associated with development proceed from trunk region to extremities? A. Proximodistal law. B. Cephalocaudal law. C. Cross-sectional law. D. Cephalocaudal law and proximodistal law.
Correct answer. A proximodistal law.
19. What is head, trunk, leg sequence of development called? A. Proximodistal law. B. Cephalocaudal law. C. Caudoferix. D. Predictable unsequence.
Correct answer. B. Cephalocaudal law.
20. Who are the profounders of law of cephalocaudal and proximodistal? A. Jessel. B. Hurlock. C. Watson. D. Crow and Crow. 21.
Correct answer.
Structural and physical
A. Jessel.
change is related to human. A. Growth. B. Development. C. Growth and development. D. Maturation.
Correct answer. A. Growth.
22. Which of the following statements related to the characteristics of human development is not correct? A. Development rates rank from trait to trait. B. Development is continuous. C. Development cannot be predicted. D. Development follows a pattern.
Correct answer. C. Development cannot be predicted.
23. Which of the following is closely related to the concept of development? A. Qualitative and quantitative change. B. Qualitative and elementary change. C. Qualitative and district change. D. Quantitative and elementary change.
Correct answer. A. Qualitative and quantitative change.
24. Human development refers to A. Increasement in height and weight. B. Systematic change in behavior. C. Change that occur uniformly in all individual. D. Systematic change in human bodies and tissues.
Correct answer. B. Systematic change in behavior.
25. Which of the following not characteristic of human development? A. It can be predicted. B. There is a similarity in pattern. C. Different part of body not development different rate. D. There is a correlation in development pattern.
Correct answer. C. Different part of body not development different rate.
26. The determinant of development are A. Physiological and genetic factors. B. Genetic and environmental factors. C. Genetic and sociological factors. D. Cultural and environmental factor.
Correct answer. B. Genetic and environmental factors.
27. Which of the following determinants factors of human development are considered as best? A. Physiological and genetic factors. B. Sociological and genetic factors. C. Cultural and environmental factors. D. Genetic and environmental factors.
Correct answer. D. Genetic and environmental factors.
28. Which of the following are not characteristics of development? A. Development is static process. B. Development is continuous process. C. Development is predictable. D. Individual differences in development.
Correct answer. A. Development is static process.
29. What are the two main factors which create individual differences? A. External training actors. B. Training and understanding factors. C. Internal and external factors. D. Special and interest factors.
Correct answer. C. Internal and external factors.
30. Which is the following is correct meaning of maturation? A. Process of acquired development. B. Process of unfolding environmental endowment. C. Process of unfolding heredity endowment. D. Process of acquired habit and behavior.
Correct answer. C. Process of unfolding heredity endowment.
31. Which of the following statement is correct? A. Maturation is unmated natural process. B. Maturity and learning are separate. C. Maturity refines development. D. Maturation is change in age.
Correct answer. A. Maturation is unmated natural process.
32. Which chromosome groups are responsible for determining female body? A. XYB, YYC, YXD. XX.
Correct answer. D. XX.
33. What is mean by maturation? A. Unfolding environmental effects. B. Unfolding genetic traits. C. Growing to be adult. D. Development of prefect vision.
Correct answer. B. Unfolding genetic traits.
34. Who was presented the idea of proximodistal and cephalocaudal sequence law of human development? A. Stanley Hall. B. J.J. Rousseau. C. Jessel. D. Gregor Mendel.
Correct answer. C. Jessel.
35. Which of the following law of studying human development is associated with development proceed from trunk region to extremities? A. Proximodistal law. B. Cephalocaudal law. C. Cross-sectional law. D. Cephalocaudal law and proximodistal law.
Correct answer. A. Proximodistal law.
36. What is head, trunk, leg sequence of development called? A. Proximodistal law. B. Cephalocaudal law. C. Caudoferix. D. Predictable unsequence.
Correct answer. B. Cephalocaudal law.
37. Who are the profounders of law of cephalocaudal and proximodistal? A. Jessel. B. Hurlock. C. Watson. D. Crow and Crow.
Correct answer. A. Jessel.
38. Which chromosome groups are responsible for determining male body? A. YXB, XXC. YYD, XY.
Correct answer. D. XY.
39. Who given more importance to nurture on human development? A. Stanley Hall. B. Sigmund Freud. C. J.B. Watson. D. B.F. Skinner.
Correct answer. C. J.B. Watson.
40. Which of the following is not issues of human development? A. Nature. B. Culture. C. Nurture. D. Stability. 41.
Correct answer.
Continuity
B.
and
Culture.
discontinuity issues is related to A. Human development. B. Human growth. C. Human maturation. D. Learning maturation.
Correct answer. A human development.
42. How does culture signify A. Genetic behavior. C. Potential behavior. C. Learner behavior. D. Creative behavior.
Correct answer. C. Learner behavior.
43. Which statement is linked with the meaning of maturation? A. It is a process of acquired development. B. It is a process of unfolding heredity endowment. C. It is a process of unfolding environment endowment. D. It is a process of acquiring habit and molding behavior.
Correct answer. B. It is a process of unfolding heredity endowment.
44. According to cephalocaudal law, development A. Spreads over the body from head to foot. B. Spreads outward from the central axis of the body to the extremities. C. Follows a pattern not similar to all. D. Follows a definite pattern but not predictable.
Correct answer. A. Spreads over the body from head to foot.
45. Which of the following law of studying human development is associated with development procedure from trunk region to extremities? A. Proximodistal law. B. Cephalocaudal law. C. Cross-sectional law. D. Longitudinal law.
Correct answer. A. Proximodistal law.
46. In which of the following stages of human development occurs high rate of development? A. Infancy stage. B. Partunate stage. C. Neonate stage. D. Prenatal stage.
Correct answer. D. Prenatal stage.
47. What is the relationship between maturation and learning? A. Learning is wholly dependent on maturation. B. Maturation is wholly dependent on learning. C. Each influences the other although the degree differs. D. Each influences the other to the same degree.
Correct answer. C. Each influences the other although the degree differs.
48. Which of the following is the psychological reason of individual difference in human growth and development? A. Human beings by nature in their genetic endowment. B. Every person does not get changed to eat same kind of food. C. Some people are most intelligent than others at birth. D. People are brought up in different socio-cultural environment.
Correct answer. D. People are brought up in different socio-cultural environment.
49. Which of the following is not a major characteristics of human development? A. Development is a continuous process. B. Development occurs suddenly. C. Development is predictable. D. Development follows a pattern.
Correct answer. B. Development occurs suddenly.
50. Growth refers to A. Behavioral changes. B. Coherent and orderly changes. C. Qualitative improvement in behavior. D. Quantitative changes in child's body.
Correct answer. D. Quantitative changes in child's body.
51. Which one of the following is specially related with the quantitative changes in the child's body? A. Growth. B. Development. C. Maturation. D. Learning.
Correct answer. A. Growth.
52. What is maturity? A. It is an innate process. B. It is a process achieved by learning. C. It is a process achieved by experience. D. It is developed by social relation.
Correct answer. C. It is a process achieved by experience.
53. How is growth and development in babyhood like? A. Slow. B. Disturbed. C. Quick. D. Continue.
Correct answer. C. Quick.
54. Which one is first of all used in development of speech? A. Adjective. B. Verb. C. Noun. D. Preposition.
Correct answer. C. Noun.
55. Which is the main characteristic of human development? A. Development is from specific to generalization. B. Development is predictable. C. All parts of the body develop at the same rate. D. Development goes from side to head.
Correct answer. B. Development is predictable.
56. What is the psychological reason behind personal difference in human growth and development? A. Every person does not get same kind of food. B. Some people are intelligent by birth. C. People are different from one another naturally because of heredity. D. People are brought in different social and cultural environments.
Correct answer. D. People are brought in different social and cultural environments.
57. Product of maturation and learning is known as A. Development. B. Growth. C. Maturity. D. Learning.
Correct answer. A. Development.
58. Human development refers to A. Physical change. B. Psychological change. C. Behavioral change. D. Physical and mental change.
Correct answer. D. Physical and mental change.
59. Most of the human behaviors are developed due to A. Heredity. B. Acquisition, skill or property. C. Inborn. D. Maturation.
Correct answer. D. Maturation.
60. Which of the following is closely related to the concept of development? A. Qualitative and drastic change. B. Qualitative and elementary change. C. Qualitative and quantitative change. D. Qualitative and elementary change.
Correct answer. C. Qualitative and quantitative change.
61. The determinants of development are A. Psychological and genetic factors. B. Genetic and environment factors. C. Genetic and sociological factors. D. Cultural and environmental factors.
Correct answer. B. Genetic and environment factors.
62. No two individuals are similar because A. They are born in different times. B. They have different hereditary traits. C. They grow and develop in different family. D. They grow and develop as a result of interaction between hereditary and environment.
Correct answer. D. They grow and develop as a result of interaction between hereditary and environment.
64. What does growth refer? A. Maturational experiences. B. Structural and physiological changes. C. Qualitative nature of changed. D. Progressive nature of change.
Correct answer. B. Structural and physiological changes.
65. What is the characteristics of growth? A. Qualitative change. B. Quantitative change. C. Irreversible change. D. Progressive change.
Correct answer. B. Quantitative change.
66. Which of the following is associated with the concept of development? A. Drastic change. B. Elementary change. C. Quantitative change. D. Qualitative change.
Correct answer. D. Qualitative change.
67. Human development represents A. Physical change, B. Mental change, C. Emotional change, D. All of the above.
Correct answer. D. All of the above.
68. Which is not included in the human growth? A change in emotion, B. Change in shape, C. Change in height, D. Change in weight.
Correct answer. A change in emotion.
69. Which of the following factors of human development is considered as best? A. Physiological and genetic, B. Sociological and generic, C. Cultural and environmental, D. Genetic and environment.
Correct answer. D. Genetic and environment.
70. Which chromosome growths are responsible for determining male body? A. XY, B. YY, C. XX, D. All of the above.
Correct answer. A. XY.
71. What is the main factors of individual difference? A. Family structure, B. Social structure, C. Heredity and environment, D. Weather and climate.
Correct answer. C. Heredity and environment.
72. Who has defined the maturation may be defined as the net sum gene effects operating in a self-limited life cycle? A. Hurlock, B. Skinner, C. Jessel, D. Watson.
Correct answer. C. Jessel.
73. Who has proposed the cephalocaudal and proximodistal laws of human development? A. Jessel, B. Stoneleigh Halls, C. Gregor Mendel, D. Erik Erikson.
Correct answer. A. Jessel.
74. Which of the following is a phylogenic behavior common in all? Function? A. Standing, B. Swimming, C. Cycling, D. Driving.
Correct answer. A. Standing.
75. Who gives more importance on the role of nurture in human development? A. Stanley Hall, B. Sigmund Freud, C. J. B. Watson, D. John Dewey.
Correct
76.
answer.
Which
C.
method
J.
of
B.
studying
Watson.
human development permits the sequential study of human behavior? A. Longitudinal method, B. Cross-sectional method, C. Cohort sequential design, D. Follow-up.
Correct answer. A. Longitudinal method.
77. What is the main limitation of cross-sectional method of studying child development? A. Time-consuming and costly, B. Small sample and low representative, C. Unable to study cultural effects, D. Difficult to keep record.
Correct answer. C. Unable to study cultural effects.
78. Which of the following psychologist is related with cross-sectional method of studying human development? A. Jean Piaget, B. Jacqueline, C. Beatley, D. Templin.
Correct answer. D. Templin.
79. The findings of which type of study can be generalized most? A. Longitudinal study, B. Cross-sectional study, C. Cohort design, D. Trend studies.
Correct answer. A. Longitudinal study.
80. Which of the following design of studying human development covers the largest sample of population? A. Longitudinal study, B. Cross-sectional study, C. Cohort design, D. Trend studies.
Correct answer. B. Cross-sectional study.
81. When one wishes to study cultural effects of a large sample of population, which study design should be applied? A. Longitudinal study, B. Cross-sectional study. C. Cohort design. D. Trend studies.
Correct answer. C. Cohort design.
82. Which is the methods is known as extended case study? A. Longitudinal. C. Cross-section. C. Observation. D. Clinical method.
Correct answer. A. Longitudinal.
83. Which of the following method is used for studying a small unit? A. Cross-sectional. B. Observation. C. Case study. D. Longitudinal.
Correct answer. C. Case study.
84. Which method of study is appropriate to study the deviant behavior of a child? A. Cross-sectional method. B. Observation. C. Case study. D. Longitudinal method.
Correct answer. C. Case study.
85. Maturation refers to a growth of the body. B. Insensement in height. C. Insensement in weight. D. Unfolding, to develop, of hereditary.
Correct answer. D. Unfolding, to develop, of hereditary.
86. Which of the following directly depends upon the items a motivation of a personal? A. Maturation process. B. Heredity process. C. Learning process. D. Growth process.
Correct answer. C. Learning process.
87. Which of the following is not a characteristics of longitudinal method? A. It covers a long span of live. B. It is related to cause-effect. C. It is related to the normal life of a person. D. Economics time.
Correct answer. D. Economics time.
88. Deviation in growth and development is mainly caused by A. Heredity. B. Learning. C. Maturity. D. Heredity and environment.
Correct answer. D. Heredity and environment.
89. What is the main benefit of longitudinal method of studying human development? A time saving. B. Easy to keep record. C. Opportunity for studying cultural effects. D. Opportunity for studying a large sample.
Correct answer. C. Opportunity for studying cultural effects.
90. What of the following change is not related to a determinant of development? A. Change in temperature. C. Change in behavior. B. Change in proportion. D. Change in social relation.
Correct answer. A. Change in temperature.
91. Which of the following method of study embraces the long span of life of an individual's? A. Longitudinal. B. Cross-sectional. C. Retrospective. D. Survey.
Correct answer. A. Longitudinal.
92. According to cephalog-Candle law, human development proceeds from A. Head to tail. B. Center to the periphery. C. Heart to the hand. D. Extreme to the center.
Correct answer. A. Head to tail.
93. Human development represents the periods from A. Birth to death. B. Conception to death. C. Conception to birth. D. Conception to the age.
Correct answer. B. Conception to death.
94. Which of the following change is not related to a determinant of development? A. Change is size. B. Change in proportion. C. Change in behavior. D. Change in social relation.
Correct answer. A. Change is size.
95. What is the main function of developmental psychology? A. It studies the theories of education in psychology. B. It studies change occurring from birth to death of a person. C. It studies the counseling process for an individual. D. It studies what types of education for an individual needs.
Correct answer. B. It studies change occurring from birth to death of a person.
96. Which of the following totally stops at a definite point? A. Development. B. Maturity. C. Growth. D. Heredity.
Correct answer. C. Growth.
97. Which of the following is directly related to heredity? A. Maturation. B. Development. C. Learning. D. Perfection.
Correct answer. A. Maturation.
98. Which of the following is not the development issues? A. Nature and nurture. B. Stability and change. C. Continuity and discontinuity. D. Maturation and learning.
Correct answer. D. Maturation and learning.
99. Which of the following is the characteristic of maturation? A. Affected by motivation. B. Affected by practice. C. Affected by heredity. D. Conscious process.
Correct answer. C. Affected by heredity.
100. The technique of studying a small unit of population over a long duration is known as A. Longitudinal study. C. Case study. B. Cross-sectional study. D. Survey.
Correct answer. A. Longitudinal study.
101. Which theory is developed by an experiment on human being? A. Kohler. B. Skinner. C. Bandura. D. Gagne.
Correct answer. C. Bandura.
102. What is meant by maturation? A. Unfolding of hereditary characteristics. B. Full growth of body. C. Perfect vision about world. D. Acquiring adulthood.
Correct answer. A. Unfolding of hereditary characteristics.
103. What is the main benefit of longitudinal method of studying child development? A. Able to be generalized. B. Economical method. C. Easy to keep records. D. Large sample. B. Change in size. D. Change in ability.
Correct answer. A. Able to be generalized.
104. Which of the following is the major advantages of longitudinal method of studying a child? A. Small sample. B. Easy to keep record. C. More valid process. D. Easy management.
Correct answer. A. Small sample.
105. Which of the following is not a weakness of the longitudinal method? A. It takes long span of time. B. Study is boring. C. It is genetic research. D. Its records cannot be preserved.
Correct answer. C. It is genetic research.
106. What is the main strength of a cross-sectional design? A. Covers large sample of population. B. Assesses cultural effects. C. Highly generalizable. D. In-depth information.
Correct answer. A. Covers large sample of population.
107. Who has proposed the cephalocaudal and proximodistal laws of human development? A. Jessel. B. Stanley Hall. C. Gregor Mendel. D. Erik Erikson.
Correct answer. A. Jessel.
108. Which factor of learning is more determined by heredity rather than environment? A. Psychological factor. B. Physiological factor. C. Social factor. D. Cultural factor.
Correct answer. B. Physiological factor.
109. What do you mean human development? A. Maturational change. B. Native response. C. Purpose response. D. Reflex action.
Correct answer. C. Purpose response.